My husband fell seriously ill and passed away 10 years ago. Since then, my daughter and I have supported each other and lived our lives. Due to the loneliness of not having a father, there was a longing for a dad for my daughter. Time passed, and I found a younger lover. He is a kind person and promised to make me and my daughter happy. After that, I decided to introduce my daughter to my soon-to-be remarried partner. I was sure that my sweet daughter would give me her blessing. "Mom, that person is absolutely no good." "Huh?" When I asked my daughter, who possesses a mysterious power for the reason, a shocking truth awaited me. My name is Emma Walker, and I'm 38 years old. I'm a busy nurse. Right now, my daughter Rory and I live together in an apartment. Rory is a bit lively, but she is a kind and cheerful girl. Our family is a single-parent household, and my husband passed away due to illness 10 years ago. It was a quite severe illness, and despite the efforts of the doctors, there was nothing that could be done. At that time, I was 28 years old, and my daughter Rory was only 4 years old. I was deeply shocked to the point where I couldn't stand, but I had no time to grieve amidst the preparations for the funeral. After the funeral, as I felt a sense of relief, my husband's portrait with a smiling face caught my eye. Finally, realizing that my husband had passed away, I cried loudly. He was a kind person who always cherished both me and Rory. We shared the workload as working parents, and he took good care of Rory. Even when he fell ill and near the end, he worried about our future, despite his own suffering. After shedding tears, I made a firm decision. I couldn't just keep crying. He must have been the one most saddened. He couldn't witness our daughter's growth before his passing. From now on, I had to protect Rory in his place. After that, I worked tirelessly for Rory, making sure to participate in her school events as much as possible. I didn't want Rory to feel lonely because she had a single parent. My daughter grew up healthy and strong. She often helped with household chores to ease my tiredness from work. "Mom, you always work hard, so this is the least I can do. If there is anything I can do, please let me know." She really grew up to be a kind and thoughtful child. While observing Rory's behavior, there was something that bothered me. It was the fact that since the day my husband passed away, Rory started saying mysterious things. "Mom, Dad said sorry for leaving you first." "Huh?" I was taken aback by Rory's words. I can't help but ask, "What else is Dad saying?" "Daddy says he's going to protect Mommy and me from now on." At that time, I thought my daughter was just fantasizing about her father's love. But afterwards, Rory started saying mysterious things frequently. For example, there was a time when Rory hurriedly stopped me when I was about to go to work at the hospital. "Mom, it's dangerous to take the car, so take the bus if you're going to work." "Huh? But then there's the issue of money." The hospital where I work is in the city, so it wouldn't take much time to get there by car. I thought it was a waste of money to pay for the bus. However, Rory didn't change her opinion. "It is really dangerous. If you don't take the bus, don't go to work." Rory holds the car keys and refuses to let go. On that day, I reluctantly commuted by bus, but later, there was a multiple car accident on the usual route. Fortunately, there was no fatalities, but there were quite a few injured, and the situation became serious enough for several ambulances to arrive. If I had gone out in my car as usual, I might have been involved too. When I returned home and asked Rolly how she knew about the accident, she said Daddy told her. There are still many more episodes like this. During a trip with Rolly, as we were looking at the hotel gift shop, Rolly whispered in my ear, "That young guy over there is eyeing your back, Mom. Be careful." As Rolly warned me, a suspicious-looking young man approached me. I hugged my back and glared at him. Seeing that, the guy, tongue-tied, quickly fled. I thought I was feeling a bit lonely after losing my husband, but in this way, I was protected by Rolly's magical power every day. Perhaps my late husband is truly watching over Rolly and me. However, I couldn't let anyone exploit my daughter's ability, so this remained a family secret. Never did I expect things to turn out like this. Time passed, and young Rolly grew into a 14-year-old middle schooler. She had a vibe of a modern girl who enjoyed fashion and hanging out with friends. I, as a single mother, worked hard as a nurse. Hospital work was demanding, but it was a fulfilling job. Seeing patients recover and become healthy brought joy to me as well. By the way, I wasn't considering remarrying. I hadn't forgotten my husband, and if someone were to marry me, they would have to love Rory too. I intended to continue living together, just the two of us, until Rory became independent. It was during this time that I met a delivery man named Michael. He was a bright, devilishly handsome guy with a refreshing charm, and he was popular among the hospital nurses and patients. I also found Michael, who had a charming personality, quite appealing. However, since he was 8 years younger than me, I hadn't regarded him as a romantic interest. That's why I was quite surprised when Michael confessed to me.
"Emma, I like you. Please consider dating me with the intention of marrying me one day."
I thought it might be a mistake, but he insisted that he was serious. Of course, I initially refused. I didn't dislike him, but when it came to marriage, I wasn't comfortable with it for a variety of reasons. I appreciate the sentiment, but I'm sorry. I can't see you romantically due to the age difference. And besides, my husband passed away, leaving me with a middle school daughter, who is my top priority. However, Michael didn't back down.
"I've also been divorced in the past. We grew apart, my wife and I. My situation may not compare to yours, but I understand the sadness of the relationship coming to an end."
Is that so? In that case,
"But I want to marry Emma. I was drawn to you because of your kindness to your patients. If you were worried about your daughter, I will do my best to be as good a father as I can be."
Feeling touched by Michael's passionate words, my heart softened a bit. In the end, persuaded by his passion, I agreed to start a relationship. I gradually found myself attracted to him, with his bright and captivating charm. The relationship progressed smoothly, and we soon decided to get married. Considering that both of us were remarrying, I initially thought of just registering our marriage. However, he wanted a ceremony.
"Since we are doing it, I want to create good memories. I couldn't arrange it with my ex-wife, so we never had a ceremony."
But it can be quite expensive. I want to save as much money as possible for my daughter.
"In that case, don't worry. I have a friend in the wedding business who can help us at a discounted rate. I will cover all the expenses. So would you mind contributing only $5,000 as an initial payment?"
I hesitated for a moment at Michael's words, but he strongly insisted.
"It's a popular venue, and I want to secure it early."
After considering it, I decided to go along with his proposal, and I withdrew savings from the bank and handed it to him. Later, we went to see the venue Michael recommended, and it was a beautiful place almost like a castle, and I couldn't help but feel happy. A few weeks later, the day arrived when I introduced Michael to my daughter and parents. I was a bit nervous, but since he was someone who quickly got along with anyone, I thought it would be okay. When we welcomed him into our home, my parents were impressed by Michael's politeness and charm. He had been working for a courier company, but was later headhunted by a real estate company and decided to change jobs. Michael's new apartment is available at a discounted rate. What do you think, Dad? Would you consider investing in it? My mother seems uninterested in Michael's talk, but my father was enthusiastic. However, Rolly remained expressionless, staring at Michael. Despite several attempts to engage her in conversation, Rolly responded with brief and indifferent answers. Michael was also taken aback by Rolly's cold attitude. On the way home, he asked me about Rolly's attitude.
I'm a bit concerned about Rolly's reaction. I feel like she's unusually cold towards me. Did I do something to upset Rory?
I don't think so. Perhaps she's just confused about my remarriage. After all, we've been a single-parent family for a long time. Once she gets used to it, I'm sure she will get along with you, Michael. Rolly is in adolescence, and it's a challenging age. It's not surprising for her to have mixed feelings about my remarriage to Michael. Even after getting married, I will make sure not to neglect taking care of Rolly. That was my determination. However, I would later realize that it was a misunderstanding in my thinking. When Michael left, Rolly approached me with a serious expression. Mom, you absolutely can't marry that person. What's wrong? Why all of a sudden? Whenever Rolly, who possesses a mysterious power, expresses a negative opinion, there is always a reason. Rolly began to explain about Michael with a solemn expression. That person has deceived many people before. Saying he wants to make you and me happy is just a lie. He wants your and Grandpa's money. I was shocked by Rolly's words. I never thought that kind Michael would. I thought so. But Rolly's power is real. Considering the events leading up to this point, it may be too much to assume, and jumping to conclusions can be dangerously risky for a lifetime. After a bit of deliberation, I decided to do some research on Michael. I thought that if there was something wrong, I could handle it. And if there was nothing, I could have peace of mind. As I investigated Michael, suspicious aspects started to emerge one after another. Firstly, when I contacted the wedding venue where we paid the deposit, the staff said, "There's no reservation like that." Of course, they hadn't received the supposed deposit either. The staff later checked with the venue's owner, but there seems to be no acquaintance of the owner named Michael. He claimed that he got the venue at a discounted price through an acquaintance. When I contacted the delivery company where Michael worked, it turned out he was just a part-time worker. Even when I inquired at the real estate company, where he claimed to have changed jobs, they said there is no such employee and no new employee has joined. At this point, I had to admit that something was seriously wrong. Feeling ashamed, I realized that categorizing Rolly's opposition to the remarriage as typical adolescent was a misguided assumption on my part. She sensed my crisis and had been desperately warning me. For the time being, I shared information about Michael with my parents. Since I couldn't talk about Rolly's mysterious power, I told them I felt something suspicious and decided to investigate. My parents, upon learning about Michael's true nature, were furious. On the contrary, Rolly had a look of "I knew it." As my parents, Rory, and I were discussing our future, the doorbell rang. Coincidentally, The central figure in the conversation, Michael, had arrived at our house. He entered the house with a silly grin, saying,
"Sorry, I forgot something."
Unaware of our family's cold stares, Michael began to talk.
"Oh, right. There's something I need to tell your dad. About the investment we were talking about before. I just called the company, and someone showed up who wants the very cheap apartment I talked about."
The way he speaks with such enthusiasm, it is obvious that Michael is trying to deceive my father. However, my father doesn't fall for it. I see. So you were planning to deceive my father like this, just like you successfully fooled me. When I said that, Michael's expression darkened. Panicking, he quickly denied my words, saying,
"What are you talking about? I'm providing good information for your father's sake. What's this talk about deceiving you in the first place? Stop teasing me."
Michael, with a sense of indignation, vehemently asserted his innocence. His overly confident demeanor made me wonder if I was misunderstanding something. With his acting skills, he must have deceived many people until now. However, my evidence-based approach rendered his acting ineffective. So I said, "I see through your insincere acting. I understand everything now. Your name, Michael, is also fake for the scam, right? What's your real name?" Michael finally froze at that statement. "You didn't reserve the wedding venue, and the story about the down payment is a lie, isn't it? The acquaintance with the owner is also a complete fabrication. Give me back my $5,000. Seeing me like that, Michael glared at me. Then he tried to escape through the front door without saying a word. Michael was quickly called by my father. My father holds a black belt in judo and has experience instructing at the police academy. For my father, restraining someone like Michael, who isn't particularly well trained, is a piece of cake. While my father detained Michael, my mother reported the incident to the police. Michael, driven into a corner, finally asked me for help.
"Emma, please help me. I truly love you. I intend to pay the wedding deposit, just a little delayed. Please don't report it to the police."
I'm fed up with Michael's attitude. Why does he think I will help him in this situation? Does he really think I'm that foolish? Even though I was deceived, the fact that I was about to marry such a fraudster makes me feel like a complete fool. Before I knew it, I found myself yelling at him. "Don't play games! There's no way I will believe such things now. Your claims of loving me and cherishing Rory, they're all lies, right? You're truly the worst kind of man."
"No, it's not like that. I truly care about you, and I never intended to deceive."
"Enough! I can't trust anything you say anymore. Be prepared. I will sue you for marriage fraud. Never come near me and my daughter again." With that, Michael finally became quiet. Later, he was taken into custody by the police and promptly convicted. I didn't know at the time, but he had a history of committing serious fraud and was on the wanted list. I could never have imagined having such a criminal close to me. Regarding the $5,000 I paid, it was found at Michael's hideout, still in the bag, and later returned to me. Naturally, I sued for marriage fraud and demanded alimony. There were other victims, and Michael was sued by all of them. Some, like my father, were duped by investment stories, while others, like me, were victims of marriage scams. Behind Michael's cheerful facade, he concealed a truly malicious nature. When the news of his arrest reached the hospital, patients and nurses were in disbelief. It's understandable, as he had presented himself as a bright, friendly face to everyone. This time, thanks to Rory, we were truly saved. I almost fell for a marriage scam, and my father was almost swindled out of his money. When I asked her how she had discovered Michael's true nature, she replied, "Thanks to Dad." I can't entrust my precious wife and child to that guy. Dad said, and was angry about that. Him? Dad, is always watching over you and me from above. I will never let you two be unhappy. Dad always says. Oh dear. When I heard Rolly's words, I felt like crying a little. Even though my husband has passed away, he has been watching over us from heaven. And so, peaceful days with Rolly have returned. From now on, I want to express gratitude to my husband in heaven and continue living happily with my child.